Hey, Nathan here from PH Studios, and welcome to a podcast type video. In this video and this series, I'm going to just discuss what's going on currently, what's going to happen with the site coming up, and a few questions that people have asked me in the past. Now, on the forums, before everything went down, I had a Ask Me Anything section where people would ask me anything they wanted to, and I would answer them. Since the forums are down, I think I'll just answer those questions in this video. That way, the ones that I remember at least, that way, those of you that do not visit the website can benefit from the questions and answers if you're curious about that type of thing. And then those of you that ask that, you'll just hear the answer again. So instead of staring at a blank screen, I figured I'd play some Minecraft. I think pretty much the majority of people like that game. So I think it's a good idea to play something or do something instead of having you stare at a blank screen while I talk. So in this video specifically, I'm going to discuss what's coming up in 2012 or 2013. Since 2012 is almost done, I'll just discuss what's coming up next year on the site. So, this world I just spawned, and I'll show you the seed in a minute. There's a lot of slimes here and a lot of creepers here as well. So if you want slimes and all that stuff, you can get this world. You spawn pretty close to my house, where I have to set up my house. So I think I have 2 stacks of 64 for slime balls. Okay. So what's going to happen on the site next year is I will go into some 3D development. So if you want to see anything specific, just let me know, and I'll try to do my best to get that out there. It probably won't be right away, but I definitely will do some 3D stuff. And I will also discuss mono game and how to do some stuff with that. Let's see. This sword is pretty beat up. So what I'm going to do is take some of that. There's some wood, food. Put that up. So I'll discuss mono game and stuff like that. I might go into some Objective-C as well on the OS X side. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, stay tuned for that. And I'll discuss some more stuff. So with the 3D development, there we go. The 3D stuff, I will just go into how to model some stuff using Blender and 3D Studio Max whenever I get it. Or maybe I'll just get the trial on that and discuss it. But I'll mostly focus on Blender, and then once I figure out how to get that textured models to work from Blender to XNA, I'll discuss that as well. And then I'll discuss the mono game. Once you have your XNA game built, all your content at least, how to use mono game. And I'll discuss that in a new series as well. I'll have a 3D series, and I'll have I'm not sure what I'll call it, but I'll discuss mono game, porting your games to Objective-C and all that stuff, and how to get everything working fine on multiple platforms. That does not go there. Let's put that there. And put that there as well. Okay, by the way, the texture pack I use is Sphax Pure BD Craft 128, and it's an HD texture pack, and I use Optifine 1.4.6 HD Ultra A2. So I use Optifine, and I use that to speed up the FPS since the game runs a little bit weird on the Mac. So I just increase my frames and all that stuff. Let's put the nether in the miscellaneous. Nether rack. And nether stairs. Cobblestone. I'm very organized, so I have signs for everything. The string goes in here. Glowstone dust. I'll put that in miscellaneous. Blaze rod. I'm going to build a area over here for potion making. So let's go ahead and build another pickaxe. I don't need diamond one. And I have enough sticks for that. By the way, for those of you that are interested in Minecraft, before you start mining for diamonds, obviously you want to get one vein so you can get like a diamond pickaxe or something. But this is 5 veins worth of diamond, which should usually yield about, let's say, 15, 16. I got 50 because I have Fortune 2 on my pickaxe. So I got about 5 diamond in 1 vein. I got the pickaxe, and then I built the enchantment table. And then I enchanted the pickaxe for diamond for the Fortune 2 enchantment. Then I used that just for mining diamond, and I did have another diamond pickaxe for everything else. Whenever I got diamond or coal, I was running low on coal, so I used a fortune, and that's how I got a whole bunch of coal. So whenever I came across, diamond, coal, or redstone, I would switch to the fortune pickaxe, so it still has a lot of life left to it. And then I would just mine it. So that's how I got the 50 diamond. And just a quick tip for those of you that want to search for diamond and want to get it more efficiently. Let's break this area here. Okay, so the website. I'd finished the main website design. That's in another video I posted sometime last week. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. The main website is supposed to be a clean, business-like feel towards it. And I apologize if the audio was a little bit strong when I was fighting that slime. It was on my end. Hopefully everything was fine on your end. But anyway, the main website is done. The design, at least. And I'm shooting for just a clean, basic, here's the content. You're not distracted by anything. There will be no ads on it. And you will not be distracted by overuse of graphics. It's just a very clean feel towards it. And if you haven't checked that out, it's in one of my previous videos. It should say main website design in the title. And just go ahead and check that out. So the main website, before, it was a blog type website, and it wasn't very organized at all. You'd be watching a tutorial, and I would tell you to download this file that you need, this graphic, for how to do this tutorial. You need a graphic for that. And sometimes it would be on like page 8 of the blog stuff, and sometimes I'd create a link towards it. On the far right side, there was a content list block that you can click to take you to a section of the site. So it wasn't very organized at all. But the new website is going to be nice, clean, and organized. there are just going to be several sections of the site. There will be content, where it'll show you a screenshot or something to identify the content. You know, if it's like a PDF, it'll have like a screenshot of the first page or something like that. And then you can download the PDF file. And then it'll show you the file size, the download link, the name of it, of course. And then below that, there will be a description. And the description, let's see if I remember how to make a, yes I do. Okay, so the description is just gonna, you know, if it's like an asset, like I give you some audio files for how to, for you to use in your game. So I would discuss how do you use that. I would provide the code, a short description of what the content is, and how you use it. You know, I'd give you a bunch of code snippets. So on that page, it's just going to have a whole detailed explanation of what it is, how do you use it, and the basic rundown of usage rights, which is basically anything I provide, you're welcome to use in any way you want to. And if you want to give me credit, you're welcome to, but it's not a requirement I have. So that's basically the usage rights, and I'll add that to every content that I have. And then there will be a series section where, you know, the XNA Tower Defense is a series, and you can download the tutorials from that series. A series has multiple tutorials, and that will be one of the sections, and then that will have like a, you know, like a playlist type looking thing where it's like track 1 is episode 1, and then track 2 is episode 2, and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm looking for on the main website. Just here's the content. You're not distracted by anything. There are no blogs or anything to get in your way. Just here's the content. I will need some wood. Not that much, though. Not even that much. Because I'll make some chests for my brewing area. I can combine these two now. Okay. So I'm going to make 2 chests for, you know, holding the empty glass bottles, the glass bottles with water, and all the potions that I've made, and the material as well. Did I make a second one? Pretty sure I made a second one. Oh, I probably only grabbed one. Okay, now I'm ready to go. Okay, so what's coming up in 2013? A recap. I will be releasing some 3D content sometime toward the middle of the year. I'm not going to get to it right now. There's still some stuff I need to finish up on the 2D side. And then I will go into some 3D development. And then after that, we will discuss porting your game to multiple platforms, monogame, Cocos 2D, how to use Objective-C if you want to build for iOS. And, you know, I'll discuss that type of thing. I will need a bunch of glass, and I think that's in my miscellaneous. So I'll discuss a whole list of topics on 3D. I might do some complete games, but not as much as the 2D ones. I might do like 1 or 2 for 3D. So if you have any recommendations on what you want to see in 3D development or 2D development or anything in general, just let me know. And I'll get to that whenever I can. Let's put this down here. The material will be at the bottom. Glass bottles will be at the top, so I can shift click. And I need to go get some nether wart. Oh. So that's what's going to happen on the website in 2013. I still have a glass bottle in my hand. So I'll get as much content as I possibly can done. But, you know, I do this stuff for you guys. So if you want to see anything specific, just let me know. And I'll get to it whenever I can. Obviously, if something happens like the website was hacked, I need to stop all development and get that fixed before I continue. Speaking of that, I do have a tutorial that I need to release. I released it for premium members, but I did not release it for everybody else just yet. So I will release that around this time, either today or the next couple days before Christmas. And I will release all that. A lot of creepers. Okay, so here is the seed. Oh wait, I need to do /seed. There is the seed for this world. You spawn pretty close to where I built my house area. And then I just built down and found this ravine. And then there's a mine shaft here. And then I went down here and found some diamonds by building a line all the way down this area. And then I just went as far as I possibly could. And that's how I found the 50 diamonds using the fortune pickaxe. I think I only found like 4 veins. And then there's some iron that I did not get. There's some coal here. So it's a pretty nice seed. I just randomly generated a world, and this is what I came up with. Alright, I need to see if my nether wart is ready to be harvested. I can never tell with this map pack. It's been a while since I went to the nether on this map pack. If this is finished, or if it was the other way. And it looks like that one was it. So, I might not be that organized in this one. It's my first... It will get me a while to get used to playing and talking about things at the same time. Especially concentrating. Is this one done? Doesn't look like it. So, I apologize if I'm all over the place on this episode and the next couple episodes. But, you know, practice makes perfect, so sooner or later I will be good at talking about things and playing the game without being blown up. Alright, so one of the questions on the website that I've been asked before is, how did I get into game development or programming in general? I remember when I was very young, I was already into computers at that time, and by then it was a sort of a opposite as it is now. My dad knew a lot more than I knew at that time. I remember one time we had a old NEC computer. I do not know if they're still around. But I remember having an old computer with 75 megahertz. That is 75 megahertz. I remember that computer was very slow at the time, and that's before any of us knew what we were doing. You know, I was very young. I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was using the Kazaa and all that stuff, and by that time, was starting to get interested in security, and I was doing security scans on the computer, and all the Kazaa and Morpheus downloads came with viruses and all that stuff. So I quickly became aware of what I was interested in and how I knew about computers since that time. I remember one Christmas, I received a couple of sticks of RAM and a video game for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And at that time, I did not know anything about installing RAM or really installing games, so my dad had to do it. Now it's the other way around. I know more about the hardware and software stuff, so they always ask me. But I remember the time where I had to ask my dad for help on some stuff, and he taught me quite a bit of stuff on that. And that's how I got interested in gaming. You know, I've always been playing games, and I remember having a Super Nintendo when I was young and playing Bubble Bobble, and I've always been a video gamer. But what really got me interested in creating games was when I started playing Doom, and I started playing that when I was young, probably younger than when you should be playing it. I was probably about 9 years old, maybe, and I got Doom, the Ultimate Doom, and I remember installing that. That was a fun thing to install when you had 6 floppy disks, and then you were installing it, and then it would say, alright, enter disk 2, alright, disk 3, disk 4, disk 5, and it was a fun thing to install. So I remember when I was a little bit older than that, I had to have some dental work done, and I was numb. You know, they pulled out some of my teeth, my younger teeth, so the newer ones could grow in. And I remember right after that appointment, I went to the store and got Doom 2. And ever since then, I wanted to develop levels for the game. And I think in the late 90s, I remember my parents giving me a game development kit 4.0. You can look that up on Amazon. It's just a game development kit, and included the Microsoft C++ version 4, I think. Before all the .NET stuff, it was in the late 90s. It was just C++ 4.0 or 5.0, one of those. And I remember not even being able to do a Hello World application. I was just way too young at the time. Even though I really wanted to do programming, I just could not do a Hello World application in C++. I don't know what I was doing wrong. I wish I would have saved the project so I could have went back and said, oh, I was a complete idiot. I need to do this. But I gave up on that. I built a very basic level, just like Minecraft here, just 4 walls, maybe some stairs, and that was about it. I couldn't get any more complex with it, so I stopped what I was doing. Before high school, I got into developing for calculators, you know, the TI-83 Plus, and I would develop for that. And I wanted to develop, you know, the basic text. You know how some people develop text games like in Command Prompt? Well, I did something similar with TI-83 Plus, where it's not really a text in the case where it's a command line, but it's a text-based game by the fact that it's sort of driven by menus. You have certain menus, and you have to choose, you know, it's like a state-driven game. You get a choice of, you choose menu option A, you get a certain result. If you choose menu option B, you get a different result. So it was those type of basic games. and it built some nice statistics, mathematics type things, conversion programs where you convert miles to inches, and that type of thing. So that's how I started getting into game development. And then there was an old game for the TI-83 Plus it was built in assembly, and I modded that. The game was called Phoenix, and it was a space shooter type of game, and I enjoyed that very well, and I wanted to mod that, make my own enemies, change the look of my ship. So I went into assembly development at that time, and it was a very cool thing to get into. At that point, I started taking classes in high school for Java, and on the side, I was learning C++. Again, this time I got past the Hello World application, and I was able to get pretty far into the structure of the language. I got up to the memory management, and everything worked fine, and I was able to learn the language very well. There was also a class for web development in high school, so I was learning HTML, CSS, a little bit of CSS. I didn't do much CSS-driven stuff in the late 90s and that type of thing. They didn't teach us that much. It was mostly HTML. And they taught us a lot of iframes and stuff, which most web developers will cringe at that, but it was what I was taught at that time. And back then, it was probably still a very good thing to use. But for now, it's pretty much frowned upon to use iframes by most developers. I know some people like to use them. I know YouTube likes to provide the iframe code unless you specify the old one. So I don't know how much of a big deal it is to keep on using that. But anyway, that's how I learned HTML development. I took a class in high school, learning all the headers, H1, H2, H3 tags, how to make paragraphs, how to do all that kind of thing. We didn't go into div blocks. I didn't think our HTML version at that time supported div. I'd have to check, but I didn't do any div stuff until later on. So that's how I got into HTML development, and PHP development came after that when I wanted to, do some sort of stuff with my website. How to change some stuff on the forums. And I don't know why that's going into the food, but there we go. How to manipulate something on InVision PowerBoard, or how to do something on Drupal, or just how to do PHP in general. So that's how I got into PHP, and in college, I don't know why I'm doing that. In college, somebody mentioned, before then, somebody that I met on the calculator development forums. I don't remember the website. I don't know if it's still around, but it was a website just dedicated to calculator development for the TI-83 Plus and all the calculators like that. I met a few people there and a few programmers, and somebody mentioned C#, and that was in 2005 is when I started learning C#. So at that point, back into college, I heard people mention XNA, and if you're into game development, you should check out XNA. So I checked it out, downloaded it, and that's how I got really interested in the XNA development. After I played around with it a little bit, created my paddles game, and it just seemed like a really fun thing to use. So that's how I got into game development. I was just always interested in how to create levels on games, and that's what geared me towards game development. From that game development kit, I just really got into programming at that point. Even though I couldn't do a Hello World application, I was not turned away from that. And it just progressed to where I am now. So, I'm sure people will have a question on how I got into the other stuff as well. So for Photoshop, in high school, we had a Photoshop license, Photoshop 7, and I was one of the pretty important people in the web development team, so I got all the questions, I helped a lot of people out, I got to just sit around and just be like a tutor type of person. And I was working on the school's website at the time too. But during the downtime, I was able to play around with Photoshop 7. So I created a few wallpapers, and at that point, I knew enough about it to develop my own design on the website. It was very horrible, but you gotta start somewhere and progress. So that's how I got into Photoshop. I just wanted to do some nice art. The first thing I created was a space scene, like a giant planet, and it was like a Mars-looking planet. Whole bunch of stars in the background. I've always liked space. I wrote a paper in high school about Saturn, and I've just always liked space. So that's why I developed a space graphic at that time. Let's get my Bane of Arthropods if I'm going to be fighting spiders. Now, After Effects, I got into just my progression on Photoshop, wanted me to go even farther and do the motion graphics. So that's how I get into that. I just wanted to increase my skills and just make it where people are, they see me work on a program and they want to, hire me for a job. So I studied After Effects, GarageBand for audio production, so I could also work on my games as well. And I would create my own videos for my games and create my own graphics for my games, so I don't have to depend on any third party, any licensing fees, anything like that. Oh, you can only use this version of this image and you can't distribute this for this reason and that kind of thing. So I've always been on the idea of, if I want something in my game, I need to learn how to do it myself. So I am the creator. I can do whatever I want with it. I don't have to deal with any licensing issues on how I can distribute it or anything like that. And that allows me to provide you guys with, here's a video that you can use in your game, or here's a audio file that you can use in your game. And I do not have any licensing restrictions for that, so you can just use it however you want to. And then I got into Adobe Illustrator, InDesign a few times for helping people out, that type of thing. So I pretty much have some experience on all the Adobe suite. Adobe Audition for audio manipulation, GarageBand, Apple GarageBand for my music creation, and the Logic Studio on the Apple side as well. So everything just branched out from my programming. My desire to release content for my own games brought me into the Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign not so much. I just had a few people ask some questions about, so I researched it and tried a few things and answered them. But for the After Effects, GarageBand, Audition, Logic Express, Logic Studio, anything that could output something that I could use in a game, I've just always been interested in. So that's how I started with all that branching out into the creative aspect, not just the programming aspect. So now I pretty much do everything in my games. I don't really do anything else except for I might find a font that I can use. So I make a logo. I can't provide the font because of licensing issues. So I just make logos of the game. The game title, the logo of the game. I just make that, and I would have just standard Times New Roman or whatever the licensing allows for the in-game text, like your health. So I would find some nice looking fonts and just use that for the titles and make, some menu entries where I'd say like play, which will never change, but your health always changes. I could make 100 images. Your health is from 0 to 100, so I could make 100 images and be done with that. So that's how I got into all the graphics and sound and video production and programming and all that stuff. This way. Okay, by the way, if you're always getting lost like I do, I put the torches on the left side as I'm exploring, and then when I want to go back, they should be on the right side. And the reason I do that is because if I stop to think, am I going the right way? Well, the torches are on the right side, so yes, I'm going the right way. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for this video. As I said, I'm sure I'll get better at doing this, but hopefully it wasn't too horrible I think this is my third time trying to do this type of thing. But, it's pretty hard to play and talk about two different things at the same time. But the more I do it, the better I'll get, so hopefully it wasn't too big of a deal. Alright, so to recap, 2013, I'll start 3D development. I'll go into multi-platform using Objective-C for iOS and Mac development. We'll also be doing monogame for that type of thing as well. That requires XNA to be used so you can build the content and then use monogame after that. So let me know. I'll do these tutorials for you, so if you want to see something, just let me know, and I'll get to it whenever I can. I have a pretty backlog of requests, so it might be a little while. Alright, so hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial, or not a tutorial, but this podcast, and a tutorial should be released in the next couple days. Thanks, and I'll talk to you sometime soon.